Tonight, we are covering the final chapter of Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. After his resounding victory, Ender and his sister Valentine travel to the Bugger homeworld, where humans are colonizing. Ender accepts position as governor, and upon examining the world further, he stumbles upon a recreation of the giant's drink from his simulation. What does it mean? What does it lead to? Stick around and we're going to discuss it. Right? Fucking hell.
Boop.
I was doing so well.
Yeah. You got it.
I do have it. I got the power.
I was about to go into a different song.
Hello, welcome to the Doctors Who podcast, and tonight we are covering the final chapter of Ender's Game by...
I don't think that's his name. At least not in English.
Maybe in Bugger.
Maybe.
That's how you say Orson Scott Card and Bugger. Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
Pretty good.
I'm fluent in buggerese.
The more you drink, the more fluent you get.
More fluid?
Oh, that too.
Hello, welcome to the Doctors Who podcast. Tonight we're covering the final chapter of Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. After Ender's resounding victory, he and Valentine travel to the Bugger homeworld, where he accepts his position as governor for the new colony. As he is exploring the planet, he stumbles across a recreation of the giant's drink, the simulation from his time at battle school. What does it mean? Where does it lead? Well, stick around because we're going to talk about that next. How's that?
Brilliant. Blew it out of the water.
Of course it was. Fucking brilliant.
It's not one take Chris anymore, though.
I've found out it's more fun if I'm not.
Yeah.
This is true.
And funny.
Right. That is what we live for. Hilarity.
The laughs.
Okay. Hello, we are the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
I am no longer caressing the TARDIS, and now we are jumping into the final chapter of Ender's Game. Let's go right to it.
All right, so this was kind of an interesting chapter because the main resolution happened in the prior chapter. So I think maybe it was last time we recorded. Chris said this is kind of like an epilogue, and it really is. So it's kind of like the afterword, so it kind of fills in the blanks of what happens next, which is good. The whole trip to the Bugger homeworld was kind of an interesting concept of using, I think he called it relativity, or he had another term for it. I know it's based on theory of relativity that, so they're going to go at faster than light speed, so they're going to take 50 years to get there, but the people that are on the ship are only going to age 2 years. So all of a sudden, we've got Ender at like 13 years old, and Peter's back on Earth, in his 60s at the time. So
serves him right.
Yeah, he was kind of a bastard. But the fact that Ender was able to make a connection with the Buggers was kind of cool too, and I think they hinted that it was through the, his study of them, and then was it the Ansible? Was that what they called it too? That they were able to kind of learn and realize that Ender really didn't want to do what he ended up doing, so they trust him to really help rebuild their society or their population with the egg that he finds on the Bugger homeworld. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things in here. It's the big thing, and this is probably when more for the whole book, is just the idea of manipulation and people. Is it fate or is it not? For them to be able to do the things that they end up doing. Mm-hmm. So, was he really selected and manipulated for this single purpose, and is that really right for what we perceive as free people or humans to do? So do we have free will or not?
Right.
Here, no, but yeah.
In this room, you do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do what you want with the TARDIS when we're not here.
Right.
So
just make sure the cameras aren't on.
Yeah.
Unless it's my OnlyFans account.
That's right.
Go, Brian.
Just saying.
Go.
All right.
Go.
So this really leads in. So this is a series. So this really brings, kind of is almost a well, it's a not postlude. What did we call it?
Epilogue.
Epilogue. Yeah, thank you. Epilogue, or even like a forward to the second book in the series, which is also titled "Speaker for the Dead." But yeah, it really kind of launches that next. It sort of feels like the end of the Marvel movies where they have like a quick scene.
Yeah.
You know, it just really springs
post-credit
forward.
scene.
You know, in preparation for the next book. But I really like here. So my brief summary of the book, which I'm sure we'll cover in a different video as well, is, you know, this is a Messiah story sort of, but is it really a Messiah at all? You know, so what happens next? You know, after
It's kind of like Dune.
Mm-hmm.
kind of, yeah. So we get to a point where the main character is more or less, he works himself out of a job, and so what does he do afterward? And just kind of the moral quandaries. And so we get to hear a little bit. I thought one of the best dialogues were Anderson and Graff talking on the water back on Earth. You know, pondering the question of legality versus morality, and you know, what's the true cost of war, and what does it take to actually, you know, bring victory for the human race. So I thought it posed some really interesting questions at the end of the book, and kind of really did a good job of summarizing the main points of the story all in just a couple paragraphs. So I liked it.
I think the interesting and heartbreaking part of this for me was that, you know, the buggers all along weren't this occupational force. They were unaware of humans and what they were. And Ender got that message when he found like this egg sac. And so imagine being Ender, who's now what, 13 or 14?
I think we said for the EVH2 area, it would have been 13 or 14, somewhere there.
Finding out that you basically nuked billions of life forms because you thought they were aggressive, and then you find out they really weren't. They would have been like, oh, shit, my bad.
Right.
So, having gone through everything he has gone through, having been conditioned and broken down and molded into what the IF needed him to be, I want to say for the most part he's probably devoid of these intense emotional reactions anymore. I think they've been driven from him. But at the same point, he understands that, you know, they're trusting him to basically carry on their race, and he accepts that mantle. So I think that's another twist that card put in there that I didn't see coming. The buggers weren't actually an aggressive, invasive species.
No, and the other thing that happens here, I guess, you know, he's had other choices that Ender could make in the book. I'm sorry, I'm jumping into your.
You're good. You're good.
Thing. But this feels like it's really the first choice that Ender has made, you know, of his own free will.
Sure.
At least since we've known him in the book, that he,
Right.
you know, he's kind of given this opportunity by the Bugger Queen, and he chooses to follow through and do the right thing with it, rather than being manipulated into doing something that he didn't want to do in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean that was the major takeaway for me, is that, you know, he comes to find out that everything he was told was basically not true, and that humanity basically rushed in with a
all bullshit
with a bigger mallet,
yeah,
instead of trying to find out if it was necessary. So seems on par, or seems on course for humanity. But still kind of a bummer to read.
Yeah, because you think of everything, that all the manipulation that he went through and all the stuff he had to undergo to basically win a war that really may not have even needed to be fought.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my takeaway.
Yeah.
It is very depressing.
It is.
So
And unlike Dune, he didn't foresee all this happening, where Paul
Right.
knew what he was going to do eventually.
good point.
But,
Well, and the thing with Paul is he knew once he got to a certain point, he would have to go down that road no matter what, or it would be catastrophic, right? The golden path
Right.
was laid out before him. He's like, this is what we have to do as a species in order to not obliterate each other.
right.
Right.
Ender doesn't have
No,
that
he doesn't have
prescience
that
or
context with everything
Yeah.
that's going on. Graf has filtered everything to him and controlled him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Graf does really care for him,
Mm-hmm.
he still is responsible for that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, but I mean, he's under the belief that the buggers are a threat. We think he's under that belief, but
I mean, I think everybody on Earth was.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Yeah.
was there? Was one character though that questioned it. Was it Dinkin or is it Dink? I can't remember what the guy's name
Not
was.
sure.
It was like Dink Meeker or something, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
But didn't he at one point question, what are we doing here?
We're kids.
Yeah.
Are the buggers really a threat? Is this really a real thing, or
Right.
are we being manipulated for something else? So that seed was dropped earlier. That
Mhm.
are the buggers really a threat? We come to find out they really weren't. But
Right.
as humans, and we see this today, where we create enemies where there really aren't enemies to begin with. So
Right.
Yeah.
we're good at that.
Here's a question for you. The fact that the buggers were able to basically infiltrate Ender's mind via the Ansible, were they responsible for his dreams that he was having in the previous chapter? Inadvertently, probably, but them creeping in there and trying to learn about him, did they
Did they trigger something in his
cascade those?
subconscious?
I.
Makes sense.
It's entirely possible. I mean,
They're connecting on a subconscious level,
Right.
So
And, waking up chewing on your own fist is
fist.
a pretty animalistic,
true.
baser instinct type of thing, so... I mean, clearly the buggers were intelligent species, but, I mean, I
Right.
still think they had animalistic characteristics that we've long since
yeah.
cast aside, whether for better or worse. But
It's an interesting thought.
just a thought.
I will.
That was what I wanted to write down, really, because I
Good
didn't
job.
want to forget. But notice I didn't have to look at my notebook. I remembered,
So
because we have liquid memory right here.
Is that what that is?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually. There's a little bit left. Do you want some?
I'm good right now.
Okay. Cool.
I will say that after reading that last chapter, I wondered if the battle school should maybe consider upgrading their security protocols for their computers. This is the second time that the computer did something unexpected. Because if we remember back to, chapter 9 or chapter 10.
When it pulled Peter's face and put it in the simulation. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's something going on here with the computer system that's probably not quite right. But the fact that the buggers had pretty much also been waiting for Ender this entire time because they knew he would be the one to carry forward their race. It's like both humans and buggers were waiting for him.
Right.
So when did this connection between Ender and the buggers begin in the book?
I'm guessing about the point where Mazur basically said, I'm going to be going against you now, because that's when I think he was actually plugged into the Ansible.
Okay.
And I think the Ansible
So
is how they were able
Because I was going back,
to
even in battle
filter
school is when he started watching all the old films and trying to see what the tactics were, but they were edited so heavily that, from the IF side, he couldn't really see what they were doing, but he could see how the buggers were reacting to things. So to me, that's when he started getting into their way of thinking, or,
Sure.
that he started not necessarily entering their mind, but thinking like them, and he started to apply those tactics, but then it just seemed to kind of evolve and grow from there, and the way that it was written into the narrative was very subtle. So, once we kind of get there and we realize that all this has been going on.
My assumption was it was the Ansible that was the vehicle that
That's what
allowed
I
them
thought
to do
too.
that.
Once he was at command school.
Yeah.
But I think that because of the way he was thinking before then, maybe allowed him, when he did connect through the Ansible, to be more receptive to, that they realize,
Sure.
hey, this kid thinks differently.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I almost wonder though if it had to have been earlier, just with we talked about in Battle School where he went to face the giant, and then after that he went and he went into a room and there was a mirror, and then he looked in the mirror in the simulation and there was Peter. But this time when he opened up the mirror, peered behind it, it was where the egg was.
Well, but that could have just been them probing his subconscious and knowing that he would have been the only one to look behind the mirror.
Okay, that could have been
Right.
too.
So, I don't know. Lots of questions.
Yeah.
Lots of questions.
I like books that make you ask some questions, and good questions too, not just why did you read this book?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I have a text from Brian.
Oh, is it from the past or the
Just
future?
leaving now. Want me to pick something up? I just now
You can
checked my phone.
talk to the tortoise and then
Yeah.
respond and then
Why
come
don't we
back.
just go and
Hold on.
jump back an hour and I'll answer Brian.
There you go.
A message says no. I have something already here. Oh, I guess you do. All right. Well, at some point in the future, you must tell me in the past too.
Yeah, sounds good.
Not bring anything.
I think so.
Cool.
I'll be right back, guys.
Time travel is handy.
Right. I think.
I don't know if we've got. Do we have enough road here to make it up to 88?
I don't know
No.
where we're going there.
No.
We don't need roads.
Because literally you've only got about 25 feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
You have to have a hell of an accelerant.
It's true. Anyway,
Ooh.
this has been our presentation of Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. If you continue watching this channel, we will reveal our next book. We're also going to do like a 3-minute lightning review. There are some people who don't want a deep dive. They just prefer, a 6 to 10 minute video that tells them about the book as a whole, and then that will impact their decision whether they want to go read it. So that's going to be coming up next. And then we will do the new book reveal. So we invite you to continue watching our channel. We invite you to hit the like button, subscribe, use that bell notification because that will let you know when we post new content. Also, pop into the comments. I feel like there were some twists and turns in the final chapter of this book, and we would love if you would sound off on those things. If you have opinions or comments that either agree or disagree with what we said. So, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it very much. Your time is very valuable. We know that. So, thank you. And until next time...
Allons-y.